Hello, Local 831 members. My name is Phil Servitor from the Courage to Change Slate. I'm going to be talking a little bit about privatization. Back in the mid to late 90s, the bids started doing our baskets and more of our cleaning. I felt that was an encroachment upon our job, even more now as I see the way they've expanded. Something should have been challenged back then for them doing our work, and nothing was done, and look at how much they're doing. They even got private rooms in Manhattan now doing street fairs. Also, a few years back when they started the curbside collection from Easy Packs, we lost some stops in Staten Island. Nobody tried to get those stops back and keep them for our Easy Packs to do. Instead, we just lost stops to privates. As far as the snow is concerned, tertiary routes 6 inches or more basically have been contracted out. We never needed help with a 6-inch storm, an 8-inch storm, 12 inches, or even 14 inches. States in the report past blizzards where we did fine without them. Why all of a sudden do we need them on our tertiaries? I think there was an agenda here long before that blizzard hit, and they just didn't want the crisis to go to waste. In the report, it explains that Q8 had the best percentages of streets plowed because of the GPS in the trucks, and they were better tracked and managed. Well, guess what? They had just as many trucks stuck out in the field for 12 or 13 or 14 hours as everybody else. The reason they had a high percentage of streets plowed was because they went from the Grand Central Parkway from Main Street to Francis Lewis, which is a small stretch. They got into their primary, secondaries, and tertiaries faster. They had a low absentee rate and very few out-of-towners. That's why they did as well as everybody else, if not better, in the report. It had nothing to do with the GPS. The department was so brazen that they actually said they showed the GPS to DOI. They showed the GPS to DOI, they state, from in the garage. They showed it working on a regular operational day, if it was even working, because 3/4 of the time it wasn't working. As John Lou, the controller, reported, it was another waste of money. They were so brazen that in the report, attachment 11 shows trucks on the GPS screen. The problem is they're showing trucks from Q12, not Q8, and they thought they can get away with it. On the CourageToChange.com website, I'm going to be linking you up with the DOI report and also some other paperwork pertaining to the blizzard. They mentioned in the report that every truck went out with 4 sets of chains, and that was the teletype given. Problem is, that teletype that they showed as evidence was from 2006, February 11th, with First Deputy Commissioner Belmonte's name on the bottom of it, when the rest of the teletypes pertaining to the storm were First Deputy Commissioner Sullivan in 2010. But yet again, nobody picked up on that and spoke about that as well. They talked about trucks being shoveled out when they're stuck in the snow, and that shovels were breaking. Meanwhile, the only shovels breaking were the ones that were used for clearing snow on corner caps and bus stops, not the shovels for digging out, because they never gave us shovels for digging out the first night of the storm. They never mentioned the fact that it took them 36 hours to activate V-plows in some locations. They never mentioned the fact that the trunnion plates were set in the wrong position, causing the plows to trip. Harry did a good job representing us as far as the slowdown, because there was no slowdown. He mentioned the facts about the plows tripping, but he never mentioned the fact about the trunnion plates. He never mentioned the fact about, he said he heard trucks went out with 1 set of chains instead of 2. He never mentioned the fact that the privates hadn't been called in because we hadn't used them for a long time and they weren't expecting a phone call. There are many inconsistencies with the department, but we're the ones paying the price. They said that all the sanitation workers from 125 Road Street and 346 Broadway were sent in the field to man plows. They went from one office to another because management in the boroughs used them where they wanted to instead of where they were supposed to go. Members that were in emergency that wanted to report to a nearer location that weren't allowed to, after the department finally decided to let them, were never called back and told to go to the nearest location. So we lost some manpower there as well. This whole report is based on inaccuracies and some lies, and we're the ones paying the price. Harry knew at the time of the storm, when he did the interviews, that if all the truth came out, upper management would probably be gone. And he even said he didn't want to bury him. Well, guess what? We're the ones that got buried. When the report came out in June, 6 months later, after all the testimony was given, nobody stood up and said, this stuff is wrong. The only way I found out about it was after my guys told me that November that the privates are doing our tertiaries, and I said, what are you talking about? And they said, oh, the borough said the privates are doing the tertiaries, they bid them out. I called the borough figuring they were looking to start a fight with my guys, and they said, no, the tertiaries are being bid out for contract. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? Nobody even told me at the union hall what was going on, just like they didn't tell the members in the street. All based on lies. If we had stood up and did what we had to do in the beginning, maybe we wouldn't have got to that point. Problem is, Harry was too nice to management and we paid. What you didn't know was this. Harry always talked about civil service exams and how when the department and Goldsmith talked about doing away with civil service exams, it'd be the end of the job as we know it. Because it would be appointments through cronyism, favoritism, and nepotism. Well, we got a little bit of cronyism, favoritism, and nepotism the way I see it. Nobody mentioned the fact, and I didn't realize this till afterwards, Harry's son got hired for a second time 3.5 months before the blizzard. He was on the job once before and either resigned or was terminated under certain circumstances. He got a job a second time as a metal mechanic making $72,000 a year 3.5 months before the blizzard. You know what? Somebody at 125 Ward Street had to sign off on that job. Do you think he was a little more concerned about being nice to them because they gave his son a job for $72,000 a year with benefits? Well, guess what? We're the ones paying the price now. Nobody realized that. I just put 2 and 2 together. He was nice to them because his son got a job. We're the ones paying the price. Thank you.